Always I heard, you're innocent until proven guilty. I've heard this for so long, and it's such a beautiful phrase. In this case, you're guilty until proven innocent. I think that is a very, very dangerous standard for our country.
January 9th, 2019, after watching a television show, State's Attorney Kim Foxx held a press conference to solicit the public for victims and evidence to see if there was a crime that had occurred based off of her watching a TV show, Surviving R. Kelly.
The recent allegations against entertainer R. Kelly and the recent Lifetime docuseries are deeply, deeply disturbing. It is our job here at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to investigate claims in the interest of justice and of public safety. I'm here today to encourage victims of sexual assault or domestic violence related to these allegations to please get in touch with our office. Please come forward. There is nothing that can be done to investigate these allegations without the cooperation of both victims and witnesses. We cannot seek justice without you.
There were no victims, there were no crimes, there were no open cases that Robert Kelly was being investigated for. There was nothing pending legally, no complaints filed. The DA has access to police reports all around the country, and with a computer search, Kim Foxx knew she had absolutely nothing to charge R. Kelly with. So she set up a hotline after doing her press conference, and she stated in her casting call, "We cannot do this without you. Any possible victims of domestic violence or sexual assault by R. Kelly, contact the office. There's nothing that can be done to investigate these allegations without cooperation of both victims and witnesses. We cannot seek justice without you. We need victims to tell their stories." That says this is an innocent man in all 50 states. We have absolutely nothing, but we want to find something. Everyone, please call our hotline. Her press conference, January 2019, began an onslaught of fraudulent, fake calls from people wanting fame and money.
Joining us now is Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Thank you for being here.
Ms. Foxx, we have to ask you, how many calls have you gotten since your press conference yesterday?
In less than 24 hours, we've had numerous phone calls.
And what happens when somebody calls?
So someone calls, tells us, what information they have, whether they're a witness or whether there's something that's happened to them. We then put them in touch with someone from our office, either through victim witness or through our investigations unit.
Right. Now, you have seen the docuseries.
I have.
And what are your initial thoughts?
I watched the series as someone who has lived in Chicago my whole adult life, worked at the State's Attorney's Office during the original trial, so it wasn't that some of the allegations were new related to pre-2008, but watching and listening to the women who said that they were survivors of what happened, it was heartbreaking, it was sickening. Again, these are allegations, and that is why it's important that we recognize that this is not, we don't have an open investigation because of the docuseries, but if there were people who have been impacted or affected, we certainly believe that we should know about that and do an investigation if warranted.
There were no victims, there was no evidence, there was no crime. So that means everything that happened before January 9th, 2019 was illegal. In the eyes of the law in all 50 states, R. Kelly and every American is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law. Evidence from 1994 says there was a marriage license and an annulment that's sealed, but none of those documents were ever verified or validified. If any of these documents are legal, that has to be proven in front of a judge in a court of law. We also hear there were settlements out of court, signed NDAs. Again, nothing has been verified. who signed the checks, who made these agreements. We know that a star of R. Kelly's caliber does not deal with all of his financial matters. In 2008, there was a trial and he was acquitted. So for all purposes based on American law, Robert Kelly was 100% innocent of everything as of January 2019. The American Bar Association Rules of Ethics 3.6 state, you should not take a case if you're affected in any personal way and not permit personal interests to affect your judgment in any case. Fox stated in front of the press after watching a TV show that she was sickened, repulsed. I too was a victim of molestation, she said. This is a bias, and from that moment on, she proved she could not do her job equitably. She could not be fair. She did not have the mental acuity, and her judgment was compromised. Rule 3.8 for prosecutor statements in public state, refrain from making extrajudicial comments that heighten public condemnation. To publicly say she is sickened, she is repulsed, I too was a victim, says these people are victims. And in order for there to be a victim, there has to be a perpetrator. When you say I too am a victim, there's a presumption that these people that were on a TV show who she'd never met, no lie detector tests were given, they're victims too, which by default presumes Mr. Kelly's guilt. This absolutely violates his constitutional rights. It prevents him from having a fair trial. It taints public perception, from which a jury pool will be selected. And it taints the jury pool automatically. She then referred to Mr. Kelly in text messages as a pedophile. That is a presumption of guilt. She broke the law. When you say someone is a pedophile who has not been in front of a judge, who has not had his case heard, that is a presumption of guilt, and it violates the law in all 50 states.
Chicago Tribune reports that State's Attorney Kim Foxx sent text messages to her top deputy, Joseph Maggots, calling Smollett a washed-up celeb, but also said that compared to R&B star R. Kelly, Smollett had been overcharged. Quoting here, pedophile with 4 victims, 10 counts. Washed-up celeb who lied to cops, 16, meaning counts. In the messages, Foxx acknowledges having recused herself, but is clearly still involved. Quoting, just because we can charge something doesn't mean we should. Maggots responds, quote, agreed. We can get a hard look at how we charge the cases and get it to something that covers what needs to be covered without being excessive and ultimately pointless.
At the time of these statements and texts, Kim Foxx had zero proof of any crime. She had zero proof that anyone was a victim. Yet publicly, she made Robert Kelly, the artist R. Kelly, appear guilty before ever talking to anyone. This is illegal, this is unconstitutional, and everything that happened prior to that broke the law.
I thought the power was in the state's attorney's office, and I wanted to have that power. I thought the power was in the state's attorney. No one can speak for a woman like a woman. Who we are can't be articulated by anyone but us.
I am changing the things I can no longer accept. And from R. Kelly to Donald Trump, and from R. Kelly to Donald Trump,